Welcome to episode 169 of your Twim show. This is your host Sajid. Today I'm going over the news and updates from the in the digital marketing space from the week of July 10 through 14, 2023. Apologies for that slow roll. I just had something else in my mind. Anyway, let's jump in. Okay. First off, an announcement from ByteDance. ByteDance is the parent company of TikTok, and they have basically announced that you can now use AI. They own CapCut as well, so there is a CapCut plugin in ChatGPT, and you can use that to create videos. How it works? They say you can create videos with as little as one sentence, but for higher quality, you need to be more specific and detailed for your prompt. I haven't tried it out. I just wanted to bring you the news. If you have a chance, try it out. Let me know. That will be appreciated. I will probably, if I get some time this week, I will go ahead and try it, or maybe next week. We'll see. But don't hold me to that. With that, let's go to the next update. There are 8 updates from Microsoft Advertising. So I will quickly go through each. First is predictive targeting. Microsoft introduced predictive targeting. It's an AI-based advertising tool that uses machine learning to automatically identify and target new audiences for increased conversions, which could save advertisers time and boost campaign efficiency. Now, this is a good thing. The bad thing is that what would happen is you will lose control over target and all those things. So it could result in wasted ad spend. My advice would be that you take it, play around with it, experiment with it, see how it does. Again, AI took the world by storm, and we were all excited, including myself. I'm guilty of that, where we were like, with this Twim show, let's try AI and let's use generative AI to do our show notes. And you know what? I've noticed the quality of the show notes is crap. Oftentimes it has been dropping a lot of important updates, quote unquote, that doesn't make it to the show notes, and it wasn't according to up to my standard. Right now, granted, I've been using Bard over ChatGPT just because ChatGPT has disabled the web plugin, and the web plugin also did not always work well in my case. Now, having said that, I want you to be careful when you approach AI, and don't just take it like, it's one fell swoop. Oh, AI is the greatest, or AI is suckiest, right? What will happen is over time, it's going to evolve. It's going to get better. But for now, it's not there yet. That's number one. Number two, going back, updates from Microsoft Microsoft also has generative AI and RSA, responsive search ads. It's like... AI would be able to create, responsive search ads for you. Again, I've never been a fan of those. I just lose control. So I would definitely not advise you to do that unless, you are a big organizations with multi-million dollars under your, management, or you have those budget, then you can try it. But again, my thing is, if you are listening to this podcast and you have multi-million dollars, then I'm pretty sure something's off, right? My podcast, my show is more for the small business owner who is going to be able to stay in the loop and be able to say, that rings a bell, I should do this. Or let me go ask my guy or gal who's running my ads or my SEO, what should we do about this? Because this sounds like an interesting idea. That's the main gist of this podcast show. Okay. The third is there is an responsive search as if functions. This will actually allows you for sophisticated targeting, and then now you don't have to create ad groups and campaigns based on specific device or audience segments. So this is a really good thing. The other one is automated multimedia ads within dynamic search ads, the groups that will reportedly utilize AI to automatically generate rich, visually engaging ads optimized for performance using your website's content. Yeah, see, it sounds great when you read it, but man, I have no control. Maybe I'm a control freak. I do not know, but I would not do it. Okay. The next one is property promotion ads for vacation rentals for Microsoft Extended. It is self-explanatory what it is. The other thing is they have enhancement to universal event tracking, which is similar to Google Analytics, and they have a tag dashboard. I would say, is it Google Analytics or Google Tag Manager? I would say it's more similar to Google Tag Manager than it is for analytics, but it does give you other stuff like, look back period, review performance, things like this. It's a combined, I believe. Okay, data-driven attribution is there. So they have differentiated, they are doing data-driven attribution. The whole world is moving into data-driven attribution. Who should get the credit? And they're deprecating keyword planner legacy features, several in the keyword, including various service operations and product category features. Okay, so they're just removing some stuff from the keyword planner, legacy keyword planner. So that's the gist with Microsoft. I spent over like 3 minutes, almost 3 minutes in this. Let's jump to the next update, which is YouTube has new video title suggestions. It's a must try for creators. That what will do is it will suggest video titles for creators based on video's transcript and description. Now I am going to try this out. Why is that? It's easy because we upload this video to YouTube. So I want to see how this works, right? And I will report back whether it's good or bad or whatnot, ugly, because I've always struggled with the title of the YouTube video, and I've just kept it simple, which is episode 169 and whatever the top story of this week is, which is the last one always. Okay, with that, let's go to the next update. Google Ads has updated their policy. You want to read this. This is quite a bit. It is the difference between you having a Google Ads account and taken away from you. Not that you would do this intentionally, but sometimes unintentionally you will do it, right? It's like things you must know. Now, whether if you're a business owner and you don't run your own Google Ads, you should have your Google Ads guy or gal check it out, number one. Number two, I think as a business owner, you should know this. Unless, of course, you are at a point where you are the CEO, you have chief of operations, you have an EA, things like that, then obviously you don't need to get into it. By that point, you have a head of marketing or chief marketing officer, and then they will take care of it. But you need to know this. This is really serious stuff. Number one, that's a big no-no, is cloaking, which is basically meaning showing different content to certain users, including Google, other than to other users, and then to other users, right? That's a big no-no. Or the other one is repeated or simultaneous policy violations will actually ban your accounts completely. Bypassing enforcement mechanism and detection by creating variations of ads, domains, or content that have been disapproved after a previous suspension decision, attempting to use Google Ads system again by creating new accounts in order to re-enter the system, abusing Google Ads product feature in order to show policy non-compliant content to users and or gain additional traffic, submitting false information as part of their verification programs, right? Now, remember, Google also has Google Organic, which is not the paid search engine results page, also has a circumvention spam policy, but Google Ads actually is much more stricter. So some people would run ads through, I do not know, a lot of different things, dynamically run ads based on whatever. Not dynamic. What am I thinking, man? What some people will change the content of the page dynamically based on what was clicked and everything. And I've thought of that. There are technologies out there that do that, but I think for Google Ads, it's better to stick to the static content that doesn't change and that matches with what's on the ad, and then you're going to kosher. I wouldn't try to do everything else. A/B testing is fine. Right, A/B testing is fine to drive traffic because it goes to two different pages, and Google will figure that out. This is a part of an A/B testing, but I would not try to do anything beyond that. If you really want to know the nitty-gritty details, please check out the show notes page. Okay, Google also released this update in about Google Merchant Center on how to build trust and increasing sales through Google Merchant Center and what Google is looking for, and gives you like certain tips, like have a better business identity, or provide official name, include an about us page on your website, that tells your unique story, let customers know that they can follow you in social media profiles, being transparent, which is basically being clear, and provide detailed information about your policies, including shipping, returns, and privacy policy. Talking about returns, I have this subscription from this company for 2 years ago, and I tried to cancel them online. They wouldn't let me cancel it because they want me to have schedule, and they were forcing me to schedule a 10-minute call with them so that I can cancel the subscription. Can you imagine that? It's $10 a month, $120 a year, and I have not been using it, so it's $240 a year. And I was like, it's coming up for renewal. I would like to cancel it. I went online to cancel the things, so they're like, wait, hang on a second. You know what? You cannot cancel it until you get on a call with one of our advisors for 10 minutes and tell us why you're leaving. That's like holding me hostage, and I did not like it. I emailed them back, and they're like, yeah. It's a long story. They haven't still gotten back to me that if I was able to cancel or not. One thing they don't realize is that I can always go back to my credit card company and say, you know what, they are forcing me to renew and not cancel. So transparency plays a big thing. Next up is online reputation. Help potential customer understand how to use your product or how other customers have used them. If you have received any badges or seals of approvals from official third-party sources, make sure you mention those. If you publish a blog post or if your business was mentioned in an article, make sure your customers know about this. So that's online reputation. Professional design, I will skip that portion. You can check out the show notes if you want everything else. And then there are other stuff. So it's very unusual for things like this to come from Google. However, I think Google is doing it because it's under a lot of pressure, and it wants to kind of increase the quality of business in Google business profile. Okay. Next up, let's moving on to SEO land. Google has said, do not let your syndicated content hurt your SEO. Right now, what is syndicated content? Syndicated content is, say you are a publisher, you publish this content. Like I publish the Twim Show, and it gets copied across, search news portal, or I don't know. Let's make it a portal number A, portal number B, portal number C, right? And basically, if the same content shows up in 4 different sites, my site, which is the Twim Show, and then portal A, portal B, portal C, there are 4 different websites that has that, and then chances are maybe portal B got ranked and I got booted off, right? So it happens quite a bit. So Google is saying, hey, to do that, what we encourage publishers, which is myself in this example, that I will tell these 3 portals like, hey, you cannot index this content. You should use this meta robots tags that says no index. So no index meta robots tags, no index meta robot tag. Right. So why I'm going with this, and you could associate, we are not a publishing company. We don't care about this. And I will say, this is where I want to correct you and bring your attention to is, look, oftentimes, like for example, I will publish this Twim Show, right? And it's on the Twim Show Substack page. Now from there, I could copy this and put it in YouTube or maybe LinkedIn. And I want to make sure that I don't have the same duplicate content everywhere else. And I just only want the Substack page to be the indexed one. Do you see where I'm going with this? Oftentimes we do that. Oftentimes we will take our content and repurpose it, put it in a LinkedIn article, put it in a LinkedIn post. We don't want it to be. So that's where I'm going with this. This is why I'm covering this, that you should know. Even though you are not a newspaper portal, you should know that this can happen. Okay, next up. And this is a very good topic, which is how Google explains how Google Discover works, because someone actually asked during the SEO office hour, hey, Google, we used to get a lot of traffic from Google Discover. Now we don't see it anymore. What's happening, right? So Google's Martin Split answered that question, and they says, number one, there's a variety of factors that determine whether an article to show to a user or not. Obviously, basically the person who is browsing, it takes into account that person's browsing history, what they visited, what kind of quality content they like, and what kind of interest, things like that. That's number one. On the other hand, Google is looking for topics and content that is relevant, right? And one of the things is like Google is saying sometimes you should write about evergreen topics, and sometimes you should not, because there is topics that go out of fashion, such as evergreen topics could be like a recipe for chicken pot pie. Right, it doesn't really change over time, but even then, Google would say maybe there is a newer content, a newer recipe that people are talking about. Google has all these signals, and Google will probably bring that up into their Google Discover feed and not yours. So that's what Google is going. And Martin is also saying that Discover traffic is going to ebb and flow. Yes, Discover is a great way to get eyeballs on your content, get traffic, but it's not always guaranteed. However, where it comes down to, and it's a long topic, is like what Martin is saying, look, you need to write good content. If you have been following our show for any length of time, and you've seen this me repeat again and again, write good content. Google's helpful articles, I'm blanking out. Google's helpful article algorithm actually talks about that, right? It's all about writing for the audience, not for the search engines, not for the keywords. Writing good topics that are actually you are knowledgeable and expert in. That's what matters. That's where this is all going. Okay. The next thing is, so Google discovered your page, but it hasn't indexed it. Some people say, well, Google hasn't indexed my page. That basically means I can go ahead and Google found the page because you see it in a search console, discovered but currently not indexed. Some people say, hey, and some SEO guys will say, hey, let's just unindex it, reindex it, things like that, or take it out and put it back in. And John Mueller is saying, no, don't do that. Usually when that happens, and also Google says, there are some technical issues behind it. Right. It could be your website, could be technically, especially this is with large sites. So, and the question came from someone who has 8 million pages on their site. And he was saying, will it help if I reduce it to 2 million pages? Maybe there is something called crawl budget. And John Mueller is saying, not, we really technically don't have a crawl budget. And this was something covered in the past in one of our episodes. John Mueller is saying, we technically do not have crawl budgets, but sometimes, we do hit resource issues, like especially on your end. Your website might not be able to handle the traffic. It might time out. It might be things like that. So make sure your website is up and running and can handle the Google traffic. That's number one. Number two is you need to make sure content is unique and it's high quality. Google at some point is going to say, hey, this content is repetitive. This is not making any sense. Let's bother not crawling. So crawling 8 million pages is quite a bit of, task, number one. Now, I would, from my own personal point, is like, if you have 8 million pages and Google is crawling your site, Google probably, even though they don't admit, Google don't want to spend, let's just say, the next 24 hours. Google boss is not going to spend the next 24 hours on your website to crawl the 8 million pages, period. Right. And I'm not saying, chunk it down to and move it to 2 million pages. That's not also what I'm saying. I'm saying is like, if you have 8 million pages, you probably want to crawl them in batches. Right. So slow, smaller chunks. And this is where programmatic, SEO comes into play, where you do 100 and then you do 100 and then do 100 and do it in batches. Because chances are if you have 8 million pages, it just didn't have 8 million on day one. You have 8 million over time. And if you have 8 million pages and you don't have any of those pages indexed, it tells me something else. Unless, of course, you use Amazon. But even then, Amazon doesn't add. I don't think Amazon adds 8 million pages in a day. I don't know, man. I'm just saying. I don't have their numbers. Okay. So this brings us to the next update, which is also interesting, which is Google's Danny Sullivan is saying, look, our SEO advice has not changed in the last 20 years. And what this is saying is, he's saying is like, make pages for users, not for search engines. And you could say, hey, hang on a second, Sajid. Didn't you say something similar like 2 updates back where he says, helpful content update algorithm, where it just says, make pages for, users, not for algorithms or for search engines, but more for the user, the author, the people reading it? You would be right. Again, I'm not repeating myself. These are things that are, being repeated again and again. A lot of people are creating content through AI. And by the way, I didn't cover this. There is a lot of AI junk out there, right? And this has become a problem now. So Google is going to get stricter about this. But coming back, what Dan Sullivan is saying is, look, write content for your users, for people who are going to read your content. Don't try to go and do keyword stuffing, which obviously doesn't work, but don't play around and say have a keyword density of 20, 30, 50, 60, 100. I do not know. I'm just making it up. But I'm just saying don't go by those things. Write the content that you want the audience to read and they say, this guy is helpful. This guy is knowledgeable. This guy knows his thing. Let me talk to him. And then Google will automatically pick it up. That's what they're saying. Actually, it's funny. This is the last update of this week, and I just totally blanked out that this is the last update, because this is not really an update, but this is a research that came out and that says large language models, LLMs, which is aka ChatGPT, Bard, and all these AI tools, can be very powerful. However, they're a recipe for disaster when it comes to SEO. It goes back to the previous update, which is I just talked about. There is a lot of AI junk out there, and what this article is talking about, this research is talking about, doesn't matter what kind of prompt engineering you do, and I've actually tested this as well with myself, is that sometimes if you say, prompts like, Okay, identify the issues with your output. Based on the issues you have identified, go ahead and update your output. Right, those kind of prompts where this is, oh, this is how we can make a powerful chat GPT. First act like a content writer and write this content, and then once the content is output, and this is, okay, now identify the issues with your output. Okay, based on the issues you have found in your output, go ahead and rewrite the content. And I heard that and I've used that and I thought, oh my God, this is the next best thing since sliced bread. But over time, like I said, I'm seeing issues with the content. And what this article is all about, and I'm going to make sure I put the link to this article, is like generative AIs are not that great when it comes to things like this, and they're going to make crap up. And I've seen this in my own case. They make things up, right? This was, let me think, which article? Yeah, about the Google Discover art issue where, how can I get my articles being shown in Google Discover? By just for testing purpose, I've given this article, the link to that article, to Google, and Google towards the bottom spit out like, oh, to make sure to check your, Google Discover stuff, go to Google Analytics, check, tick, 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 tick. Now, if you didn't know Google Analytics, you think this was, oh, that's a great content because, it's even giving me how I can go check Google Analytics and do all these things. But guess what? None of those options exist in Google Analytics. Because I knew it, I was like, this thing is crap. I crashed it and I said, you know what? Let me write it on my own. I did take help from them to write these titles for the slides. Other than that, nothing else. With that, folks, that's it for this week. I hope you found some value. Signing off, this is your host Sajid Islam. Until next week, take care. Bye-bye.